I'm going to record. So welcome to our Marketing Mastery workshop. As I was saying to the other guys, we have a series of 6 workshops that rotate every 3 months. I'm really covering the fundamentals of business. Okay, so from self-mastery, which is more about time management, finance, knowing the numbers, marketing, as we're going to see, is about lead generation, sales, about the conversion of those leads, customers, about getting clients back, and team, about building great teams. Okay, so hopefully I know a few of you have booked onto a few of these, so it'd be great to see the next one, but just to give you a bit of a feeling of those basics there. So first thing always when you come to one of these is the clearer you are with what you want to get out of the session, the more likely you're actually going to get something of value out of it. So just in the chat box, I just want you just to type in, what would be one key thing that you'd like to get out of today's marketing workshop? So just have a think. I know some of you are purely on marketing, others it's a bit more general. If you don't understand what marketing is, that's probably a good place to start. But just put something in there so I can keep an eye on it and make sure that I do cover as much of what you look for as I possibly can. So marketing to the right people. Yep. Brilliant. We're definitely going to be sort of focused around that as one of the most fundamental, important that within marketing. Top strategies to generate leads. Yep. I'm going to certainly be, today is not necessarily about identifying the exact strategy, because obviously I'd be here forever trying to work out each individual business. What it will give you is the framework to which to identify the best strategy. Okay, that's what we're really looking for. So Ben, perfect. The structure of marketing, because for me, marketing is it's as much systems and processes as it is, a skill. It's about if you can find a process that works, then you just keep repeating it. That's one of the key things around marketing. Cool. So anything, Alison, Dylan? I saw you guys there. Okay, I'm not sure. Has Alison got a keyboard, Ben, as well, or have you just given a screen to look at? But that's fine. If you want to complete that as we go through, then that'll be brilliant. So I think the key thing there is to have in your mind what you want to get out, and then if there's any questions as we go, please pop them in the chat box. If you want to unmute yourself, if you haven't used Zoom before, the quickest way is just push the space bar, and then you'll be able to talk. And I will be sort of asking a few people some, directly for some input as well as we go. Excellent. So reaching the right contacts. So again, very much about that targeting within our marketing. So the first question really is for a lot of people, certainly people that have not been in marketing before, or sometimes there's a little bit of fear of, well, what is marketing? And when you go and speak to a marketing company or somebody who's, if we go to the Institute of Marketers, they come up with this big, long, convoluted response of what marketing is. And one thing I did an MBA many years ago, and they said there's 7 P's of marketing. There's 7 things you have to think about when you actually are marketing. The reality of this, though, is marketing is actually far simpler than that. Marketing, for me, is about lead generation. Okay, you talk about marketing as being brand. I've got to get my brand out there. Well, yes, you do. But why do you need to get your brand out there? You need to get your brand out there because you want to generate inquiries. You want to generate leads. If you're not generating leads, then your marketing's not working. Now, that lead time might be a long time, it might be a year, it might be a month, 2 months, a year. But we've got to be getting a message out there so that we can actually get the inquiries coming in. And when you break down how do we actually build a business, when you come to sort of these workshops, you'll see that within Action Coach, and Ben calls these the Action 5. There are 5 key ways that we actually grow a business. Yeah, most people think of it as being our customers. Okay, that we need more customers, we need more revenues, we need more profits. But the reality is we need more leads coming in, which is marketing. We need to be better at converting those leads, which is sales. Okay, and the two are different disciplines. Marketing is one discipline, sales is another discipline. Then we've got to make sure our customers keep coming back. So buy from us again and again and again, or stay with us a long term. And they spend as much as they possibly can with us each time they come in. So those are the 4 ways to drive revenues. Then the one, I know Nick and colleague there are accountants, so you'll understand that then there's the cost savings. We've got to actually increase our margin, save our costs, and certainly in an inflationary world as we are at the moment, that's even more important now. And then that times our revenues equals our profits. So if we want to affect our profits, we've got these 5 areas in which we can influence. And today we're really looking at this one here. Okay, really looking at the one that's top of the list. For me, it's the hardest, it's the most expensive, it's the most frustrating. Yeah. And I think the great Henry Ford once said, 50% of my marketing's wasted, I just don't know which 50% it is. Okay, so we've got to get better understanding what it is in order we can actually get the best return. Yeah, increasing our margins comparatively is relatively easy. Put your prices up, save costs. Yeah, but lead generation is where a lot of people struggle, and why there's generally a problem with this. So once we understand that marketing is really about lead generation, how do we get inquiries? The next thing is really understanding what is it we want to have. What is our goal within marketing? Because I have this little formula for life success, which states, who do I need to be? What do I need to do equals what I want to have. So the have is our dreams and our goals. Yeah. In order to have our dreams and goals, we have to have the attitude, knowledge, and skills to achieve them. And then we've got to go and do what it takes. Okay, so I'm going to just pick on Nick here. So Nick, can you just unmute yourself for a second? If you push the space bar, you can do that. So hi there, nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So out of these 3 things, you've got to have all 3 to be successful. But what would you say is the most important? Which one of those 3 is the most important for success to happen? Is it my knowledge and skills, what I do, or the goal I'm going after?
Probably the do. In the council, it's very easy to have the knowledge and the skills.
Yep.
We've been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But actually implementing those skills too.
And I do find in marketing, people talk about it, but they're not actually doing it.
Yeah.
And they always say that you don't score 100% of the goals you don't aim for. So you might have a 1 in 100, shots on goal to actually score. But if you don't actually have those shots, you'll never score.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think, I need to do marketing. I need to do more marketing, I've got to do social media. I've got to do emails. I've got to do this. I've got to do networking. I've got to do. Yeah. Unfortunately, in life, those become the busy fools.
Yeah.
Okay. They're busy doing stuff, and they think that doing more stuff is the way to actually get better results. Now, you've got to do something to be successful. But out of those 3 things, I've found over the years, it's not the most important. Okay. So if it's not the most important, which one of those 3 would be the most important?
Ooh. Then probably knowing our goals.
Knowing the goals. Yep. Bang on. See, once we know what our goals are, then we can know what we need to be and what we need to do. Now, if you look in sport, any successful sports person is successful because they wanted to be successful. Yeah, if you don't want to be successful at sport, then you won't be successful. You'll fail at the first hurdle. So then it comes, what if you really want to be successful, then are you prepared to be and do what it takes to be successful? And that's where the second lot of people fall down, because they actually say they want this, but they don't want it enough and give up halfway to achieving it. So within marketing, we've got to be very clear, what are our marketing goals? What is it we want from marketing? We don't just want to do more marketing, because why do we want to do it? What are we actually trying to achieve? So one of the first things within marketing is to really identify what they are. Okay, so Dylan, let me sort of switch to you then. And please, guys, if you've got a piece of paper, do your own version of this as we go through. Okay, I'm going to pick on various people, but be thinking about in your business exactly what questions I'm going to be asking. So Dylan, if you can unmute yourself there. So within marketing, within first class sailing, what are your goals?
Ultimately, to get as many people on a course as possible.
Okay, as many people on the course as possible.
Because each course has a minimum amount of people you need to actually make a profit. Because we've got lots of costs like the boats, the food, fuel. So each course, you've really got to make sure you're hitting that minimum goal of people. Some courses obviously sell better than others, which means some need more attention than others, which means that different kinds of courses have different kinds of goals, if that makes sense. For example, the one-day theory courses haven't got that many overheads, don't take up much time commitment and cost for the customer. So they're much more simple to market, where the practical courses, which cost several thousands of pounds and take 7 days to do, you often find that it's harder to meet those goals because of the higher barrier to entry.
Cool. So the goal is to get more people on courses.
Essentially, it boils down to that.
Great. So and this is what I find with a lot of businesses is they have some clarity around the goal, but that goal is what I would call a fluffy goal. I want more of this. I want to achieve this. It's not specific enough. It's not measurable enough. It's not therefore achievable, realistic. So everyone's heard of the terminology SMART goals. So SMART goals stand for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, within a time frame. I like to take it one step further and say we want SMARTY goals. Okay, because I think goals should also be inspiring and emotional as well. So if that goal of getting more people into classes isn't inspiring and emotional, if it doesn't sort of make you excited, then you're unlikely to do what it takes to actually achieve them. When we say I want more of something, how specific is more? Is one more person more? Is 100 people more? Is 50 people more? The answer to that is always yes, it is, therefore it's not specific enough. So we need to start, before we even go into any marketing, is to start with the end in mind, is to really think about our business and break it down into the numbers that we're actually trying to achieve here. Now, ultimately, the question is, why do you want more people in courses? Because I want more revenue. And then I'd say, well, why do you want more revenue? Because the ultimate scorecard of business is I want more profit. Okay, so if we don't understand how the profit of our business is generated, then it's very difficult for us to actually set a goal for marketing. We just end up doing stuff. So if we can start to say, right, I want this amount of profit in my business, or this amount more profit, because if I did no marketing, I'd probably get so much business coming through anyway. So I want more profit into my business. Therefore, In order to generate that profit, there's a link between profit and sales. So I know my cost structures. So I need how much more sales I would need. Then I'd need to know how much people actually spend with me on a day-to-day basis. So what my average transaction value would be. Therefore, how much of that would come through my existing business and how much would I need to get through from new business? Okay, so understanding how my business works. So if I did nothing, I would get a certain amount of revenue coming in, but my focus is to actually get more work in. Therefore, this is really what marketing is about, is how do I generate this new business? Then of the people that make inquiries, how many of those do I convert? Yeah, would be my conversion rate. And therefore from that would be how many leads do I naturally need? And from that, what is the activity that I need to actually work towards? So you can see here, we start reverse engineering what activity I need to do within my marketing. I don't just say, I'm going to do more emails. I'm going to do more social media posts. Yeah, I've got to understand how the leads come into my business and where they're coming from, and therefore what my targets are. And then my marketing backs that up. Okay, because if I wanted to achieve, let's say, £100,000 more sales, from brand new clients, and my margin would say 50%, so it would be £50,000. How much would I spend to actually generate £50,000 of profit? So let's pick on James there. So James, if you want to just unmute yourself. Okay. Yep. So imagine I've got one of your perfect clients in my back pocket.
Right.
Okay. And that client would stay with you for, let's say, an average of 5 years.
Okay.
Roughly speaking. Yeah. And for those that don't know, James is an independent financial advisor. Okay. So he helps you with investments, pensions, to put money away so you can have a better life later on. So if I've got that perfect client in my back pocket over 5 years, how much would that client be worth to you on average?
Monetary wise?
Yeah.
Probably about 75,000.
About 75,000. Okay. So if I had one of those in my back pocket, how much would you be willing to pay me for that client?
Probably a quarter of that.
Okay, so maybe a quarter of that. So I'll get me a calculator out.
So 18,750.
So yeah, potentially £18,000. Okay, now guys, do your own numbers. Do this with your own numbers. Okay, as I'm taking James through this, and the numbers are irrelevant. It's the process that you want to go through. So just think about how much is a client worth to you. Okay. How for their first sale and maybe for the next 5 years of sales. Then once you've got that, say, right, how much would I pay to actually acquire one of those clients? Yeah. So that's really at this level here, the average transaction value. So that new client would be worth, I would pay £18,000 for that client. Then you've got to think about, well, how many people would you need to see in order to convert one person into new business? So James, for you, how many people would you see to convert one?
So out of 10, maybe, I don't know, I'd say about 70% is my conversion rate. About
70%. Okay. So therefore we'd have to times the 1875 by 70%. Okay, so therefore we would spend 13,000 per lead for you. Okay, we could spend that amount of money per lead. So And that's you just being in front of it. That's a good quality prospect that you could convert. So then you'd say
top end.
Top end. So everybody there's a number of steps in that process. From the moment you actually go and see a good one, there's probably 2 or 3 telephone calls that you'd go through. So in order to get a meeting with one person, how many people do you think you'd need to have shown some interest in what you do?
I'd say at least 10.
At least 10. Okay. So therefore, if you've got to see 10 people and you've got 13,000 to spend on getting one, you've got 1,300, therefore, to spend on getting 10 leads in.
Yep.
Okay, because you'd have to spend 1,300 times 10 in order to get one at 13,000 to convert at 70%, which would be your 18,000. Okay, so I've got 10 leads, at £1,300 per lead I could spend to get those people in.
Okay.
So then you're looking at, okay, so what marketing strategies could I be using that would spend £1,300 in order to generate 10 leads? Now, it might be I've got 10 strategies I've got to work on in order to get those leads in. Okay, so if I've got to spend 1,300 divide over 10 strategies, therefore I'd be around about £130 per strategy in order to get a lead in.
Okay,
130 times 10 gives me my 10 leads. So working the maths out and knowing what your conversion rates, what your process is, and how many people drop out starts to give you your marketing budget of how much you should be spending for marketing to acquire a new client. And what I find for most people is they don't commit enough money in order to get the client that they want. Okay, so the first thing to do is say, right, how much more business do I want? What am I willing to spend to get that? And then work it backwards through your conversion rates to work out, okay, that means I'm going to need a marketing budget of this amount to actually achieve that. For a lot of people, you do that the first time, it will scare the bejesus out of you. You'll be going, geez, I've got to spend all that amount of money. And you might start to then tweak your numbers and dial it back a little bit. Or you might decide, actually, I'm not spending enough money and I need to spend a bit more on it. Because I always think, if I had a marketing strategy, it was guaranteed to work, and it would always give me a 2 times multiple return, I'd borrow money to do it. I'd spend £1 million on it because I knew that it would generate me £2 million. The reality in life is we're doing a lot more on guesswork and gut feel, and therefore we're not prepared to take those risks. What we're trying to do is de-risk it by actually knowing your numbers. And that's why I always think that marketing is maths as much as it is the science of actually, what should be in a good advert. Okay. So number one, what's my goal? What do I really want to achieve? No woolly goals. I want more of specific goals. Once I know the specific goal, reverse engineer it back to say, right, what would my marketing budget need to be in order to achieve that level of increase in sales? Then I've got to start thinking about my beliefs. That's being clear what the goal is. Then my beliefs come in. So one of the biggest beliefs that I find within businesses is that marketing is a cost, rather than an investment. So I'm going to come back to Ben with Nick, because I've got 2 Bens here. So the Ben with Nick there, because these guys are accountants, so they know this stuff. Okay. So if I want to make more profit, what do I have to do with costs?
Need to lower them.
Lower costs. Okay. So is marketing, if you treated marketing as a cost, in order to make more money in my business, what do I need to do with my marketing spend?
Decrease it.
Decrease it. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in times of recession. We had this during COVID. You know, a lot of clients were saying, geez, we've got COVID coming on. We've got to cut costs. We've got to cut costs. And one of the first things that goes is the marketing budget.
Mhm. Yeah.
If we reverse that and think that marketing is actually an investment, okay, and I knew that if I invested this amount, I would get a 5-10% return on my investment, would I
Yeah.
be spending less or more in my investments in times of hardship?
Yeah. So if you saw it that way, you'd be spending more on it.
But spending more, yeah. The other thing is if I had investments, let's say I was spending £5,000 a month on my marketing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was spending £5,000 a month on my marketing and I didn't know what my return was.
Yeah.
If I went to James as an IFA and said, James, here's £5,000 of my money to invest, and he never told me what return I would get ever, yeah, would I continue investing in James?
Very unlikely.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, marketing, you know, the first step is our belief that marketing is an investment, not a cost. But if we believe it's an investment, excuse me, we have to know what the return on investment is. And that's why those numbers that we did to start with are so important, because if I'm going to spend, you know, when James was sort of thinking about spending £13,000 to acquire a client, you know, he was going, oh my God, you know, that's a hell of a lot of money to buy one client. But if you knew your numbers and you knew everything that actually worked, that would give you the confidence to then go and spend that.
Yeah.
If you don't know those numbers, you've got no confidence, therefore you'll never spend it.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the first beliefs within any person, with any business, is marketing has to be an investment. If it's an investment, I must know the return on that investment. And that is across the board. No matter what I spend my money on, I've got to have some feeling of return. And that's where people say to me, oh, we've got to do brand marketing. It's all about your brand. It's all about your brand. I said, well, yeah, fine. But it's very difficult to measure the return on my brand. If you're Coca-Cola and you've got millions and billions of pounds and you don't want to pay tax on it, then fine, spend all your money on brand. But for most small businesses that are looking to grow, we've got to be a little bit more scientific than that. Okay. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do some investing in brand and stuff that we can't measure, but I would say no more than 10% of your budget goes on non-measurable marketing activities. It's like taking a punt. I'll take a risk on it. Okay, I've done it in the past. I did roundabout advertising, you know, where you put your name on a roundabout, you know, it was about £1,000, I think it was, for a year, and it was a punt. You know, I think I got one phone call in 2 years on it. Okay, so you know, maybe it got a bit more brand, that people found my website and found me other means, but you know, it's not something that I would repeat because it's too difficult to measure. So therefore, when we start thinking about that return on investment, the reason we don't do more marketing is generally one of these three things. I don't have enough time to do it, I don't have enough money to do it, or I don't have the skill to do it. Okay. Now, when you're a one-man band, you know, you're on your own. Yeah, you've got to balance all the things that you're working on. As the business grows, the time and the money and the skill thing should dissipate. So the skill is about learning how to be better at marketing. Okay. So if we want to be good at something, we have to learn how to do it. Now, you're not going to just suddenly learn marketing from just doing it. You know, you've got to go on courses, you've got to read books about it. You know, you've got to come to workshops like this to understand the basics of it. The key with, you know, what I'm going to teach you is sort of will last you a lifetime. Specifics in marketing, sort of like Google marketing or Facebook marketing, are changing by the day. You know, I had a client that built their business over £1 million turnover purely on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook changed an algorithm, that business disappeared within a month. Okay. Online stuff moves very, very quickly, both up and down. So that those skills, if you're going to be doing marketing and that's your role, and you want to be successful at it, you've got to put the effort into learning that skill. You've got to understand you've got to put money into it, because the majority of marketing does cost, and we're talking lead generation here. The other, conversion and repeat business, costs a lot less, and I would always start there with a business. Lead generation is always the last one because it is the most expensive, and you have to dedicate time to it. Yeah, too many people in business, you do marketing when they're quiet, then they get busy, they don't do marketing. Well, if you don't do marketing when you're busy, yeah, then when you're quiet, you won't have any work. So marketing has to be that machine that is going all the time. You set it up. It's like a spinning a plate. You've got to get it spinning. You move away, you go back, you keep it spinning again. You start another strategy, get another plate spinning. If you ignore it, it'll all come crashing down. Okay. The next belief that you need to work on is you are not your customer. Okay, and this can be the hardest one for technically minded people. Okay, where your business is you, or you've been in your business a long time. Often when you do marketing, you market it as you are the customer. You talk the language that you talk about. Accountants are notoriously bad at this. Okay, you're talking in your own languages, whereas if you were to talk in your customer's language, it would be completely different. So we've all got to sit and move ourselves into our customer's seat and go from their perspective, what is important to them? What are they thinking? What's on their mind? When they're looking, when they're Googling it, when they're networking, or whatever means they use to actually find a supplier like yourself, what are the questions that are going through their head? That's what becomes your material for your marketing. And the key to this is the majority, there's really sort of only 3 things that drive people to do something. Okay, and it comes from the way our brains are wired. They either want or need something. So people are either moving away from pain, so they've got a problem and they want that problem solved. They have a desire for a better life, so they want something. They're not in pain, they don't need it, but they want it. Or they're doing it for other people. So you've got to first decide for, and you might have clients that are all 3, that some are moving away from pain, some are moving towards pleasure, some are doing this for other people. You might find that the majority of your clients are move away from people. So therefore, you've got to build your marketing and understand from your customer's point of view, which one of those they're coming from, because that becomes the message. That becomes what we're talking about. And if we don't understand why our customers want to buy from us, then we're going to struggle at every point of call as we go through. So Ben Butcher, get our Bens. So Ben, what would you say the majority of your customers come to you? Which one of those 3 would they be sort of focused on?
I would say probably needing storage solutions, therefore moving away from badly organized warehouses and losing money through damages, things like that.
Yeah. So Ben's company supplies storage solutions, boxes, plastic boxes of all shapes, sizes. So people, it's not sitting there on their desire list. Yeah. They generally won't be buying lots of boxes for other people. Okay, so for him, it's very much going to be a need-based purchase. I've got a problem, and I need a solution. If I switch over to Dylan, who's part of a sailing school. Dylan, for you, where do your clients sit?
I think a mix between need and want, because
Okay.
you get some customers who are doing the course because they need to get a certain license to be able to do something.
Yep.
But then you get a lot of recreational
Yeah.
people who are just learning to sell because they want to learn to sell.
Yep.
So I would say it very evenly splits between those two kind of demographics.
Yeah. So therefore your messaging needs to be equally split between those two things. If you just go on the want and desire, then you're going to not communicate to the people who are seeing this as a need based. Okay, so we've got to start thinking, and also, for you, there might be purpose. For others, would be gift vouchers. What do I give my son who's into sailing, for a Christmas present? Don't know. So there might be even the third option there for you, which would be more of a purpose led. So our belief system needs to be around what goes on in the mindset of our clients. Why do they want us? Okay, before we've even done our first piece of marketing, put an advert together or picked up the phone or done a social media post, we have to understand this. Okay, because if we get this wrong, then whatever we do is probably destined to fail. Okay, so put ourselves in our clients' minds. We are not our client. We've got to see it from their perspective, and we've got to know why they want to buy from us. And then we can start to decide, right, okay, now what do we need to do in order to make the marketing work? So there are three key things for me that you have to do when you're putting a marketing plan together. Okay, and this is where I see a lot of people get this completely wrong, because the three things are: we need to understand who our target is based on what we just talked about there, what our potential customers are and what they're thinking, what the offer is to get them to actually take action, and how we communicate. Now, if we were looking at this and saying the time that we have to put our marketing plan together, when I speak to most people, they would be putting about 90 to 100% of their time into the bottom one, into the copy. The actual, I've got to write a blog post, I've got to write an email, I've got to do an advert. Most of their time and effort goes down here. But when you analyze it through, in order to get a successful campaign, at least 50% of your time should be thinking about the specifics of your target market. And for most of you, you don't just have one target market, you have multiple targets. As Dylan said there, he's got some people that need a sailing course, some people who want a sailing course, where you've suddenly now split your marketing into two. Okay, for Nick and Ben, you'll have different size of businesses, big businesses, small businesses, micro businesses. It might be demographics, it might be geographical locations. Okay, so the more you understand who your target is, the easier your marketing becomes. Because once I know exactly who that target is, I can then put an offer together that compels that person to take action. So then about 30% of my time should be thinking about what my offers could be. And think of offers like pieces of cheese. So if I wanted to sell more cheese in the supermarket, I would have somebody standing there with a plate of cheese allowing people to taste it. So you've got to be thinking, well, what are your pieces of cheese to get people to engage with you, in order to move them down the buying process. And this is not, marketing is not about necessarily about selling to people there and then. For the majority of you, your sales process could take a week, could take a year. Okay, and we do more than the sales process when I do the sales mastery workshop. But this is about how do I get people to make that inquiry, to send me an email, to pick up the phone, to come and speak to me. Whatever it might be, I've got to do something that generates that desire and interest that they come along. Once I've got all of those, then about 20% of my time can then be about putting the copy together, actually creating the article, creating the the website, whatever it might be, to actually do the job that I want it to do. Okay, so these are the key things. Who my target is, what my offer is, what is my copy. So when we start identifying targets, and I know a few of you sort of said about reaching the right contacts. What was the other one we had? Marketing to the right people. Yeah. The process you need to go through for this is who are my A-grade clients? What do they look like? What does a great client look like? Why are they A-grade? What makes them as good as they are? Is it how much they spend, the regularity, the way that they treat me? What is their problem? Okay, so again, we go back to that sort of belief of, why, what are they currently thinking? And where will I find them? Like where will they be hanging out? What will they be reading? How would they like to be communicated to? The more in depth we can work around this, the who, what, why, and where, the easier our marketing is then going to be. Okay, if we don't do this and we sort of, we can help anybody, then our marketing becomes very bland, very generic, and it's hit or miss whether somebody's actually going to sort of pay any attention to us. So, really think about breaking this down. So again, we can have multiple marketing campaigns. If you come up with who they are, well, I've got 10 different types of client, then we might have 10 different types of marketing strategy. Okay. And I have a little thing that I did this with Ben from Solent Plastics. It's a little bit like, go back into the old prehistoric days, where, caveman went down into the valley with his spear, and went to capture some animals. When he was down there, he had a choice. He could go after chickens, he could go after cows, or he could go after dinosaurs. If he went down with one spear, he was probably most likely to catch one particular type of animal. He could go down and spend all his days running around trying to catch a chicken. The small, tiny businesses. If I get one of those and bring it back to the family, we're going to feed ourselves for a day. So tomorrow I've got to go back down and catch another chicken. If I spend a bit more time and effort and be a bit more creative, perhaps I could catch a cow, which I could then feed off for maybe a week or so. If I was really strategic and perhaps teamed up with other experts and had the right tools, perhaps I could land a dinosaur, in which case I could feed off that for a year. So often what we find is people are hunting with the wrong instruments. They're hunting, they're going after dinosaurs with chicken strategies. Quick fix things that I want to get a quick return. So it's got to be relevant for the people that we're going after. And that's why targeting is so important. Okay, we've really got to understand, what that, really what we're actually after. Once we know who we're going after, as I said before, we then start thinking about what questions are they actually asking. There's a great book by Marcus Sheridan around this. It's definitely, if you want to learn more about marketing, this is a good one to read, because he built a website in America to sell hot tubs, and it became the world's or the US's largest sort of hot tub seller. And all of his marketing was purely answering questions that his customers had asked him. So every question his customer had ever asked him, he wrote down and then wrote a blog on it, posted it on the website, put it out on social media. So by collating all that information about what the problems are, he was then able to be Google #1 ranking SEO for all of those search terms. And some of the questions that he was able to answer were, what's the price of it? Okay, what is the price of the product or service you're offering? Now, for many of us, we don't like to give the price. James, if I come back to you, why wouldn't you want to give the price of what you do?
It can vary depending on someone's circumstances. So,
yep,
it then involves a conversation going down, various different options that we offer. One of the things I've found is that certain people may get offended when they look at our charging structure, because we obviously charge less the more money you have.
Yeah.
So in that respect, someone with less money might think, well, why am I not good enough? But it is purely done on a cost basis.
Okay. So the danger there is we don't talk about price because it's so varied that it could be a different price for different people. We might not want to say our price because if they see our price, they might be put off because, oh, that seems like a hard price. Because in relation to a price, it could be high or low. Sometimes people say, well, I don't want to put my price out there because the competition might see it. So there's all these reasons why not to talk about price. But when you actually go and buy yourself, whatever you go and buy, one of the first questions you're going to ask is how much is it going to cost me? So the thing that people are searching for is how much is this going to cost me? So if you're not prepared to talk about it, then you're going to miss out on that communication, understanding what's important to your client. So you've got to get a way to get across that price question in a way that doesn't put you in a worse situation. And sometimes, for you, James, it's about actually write a blog about how IFAs charge for their work. You don't have to give any specifics, but you do have to give that insights into how it all works.
Yeah.
And because if you've answered their question, they're more likely to come to you.
For an IFA firm, we are very competitively priced, and I think that is one thing that does favor us as a company when people are looking for advisors. Right. They notice that, and in comparison to other firms, it is a lot more cost effective for them. So, yeah.
But also, if you were the most expensive, then justify why you're the most expensive. We're the most expensive because of this. We're proud of it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're scared of talking about the thing that your customers are wanting the answer to, then whatever message you put out there is not going to work. So they also talk about, what are the problems? What could go wrong with buying your service? What would be the downsides? The elephant that you don't want to talk about. Talk about it. Get that message out into the great wide world and be the person that's, actually approaching it, dealing with it, where all of your competitors are too scared to talk about it. Okay. How does your product compare to the competitors? The big thing for this is be unbiased. Don't write these articles. Don't talk about it, in a way that belittles other people. It's a bit like the sort of the Amazon reviews. You want a nice sort of balanced approach to it. If they've got good points, talk about their good points. But your business should be good enough to stand on its own 2 feet. And the key to this is always remember, you don't want every customer that's out there. Okay? You just want the customers that you want. And therefore, your marketing message and your target's about, I only want A grade clients. Yeah, that's who I really want. I don't want the B's, the C's, and the D's. Okay, so the messages are really around who you're actually going after. So what do customers think about your work? Reviews, reviews are really, really important in today's world. Google reviews, Trustpilot reviews, Amazon reviews, people will look at those. Now, do you need a 5-star review, 100% 5-star review? No. Okay. Let's pick. So Dylan, let's get your insights to this. So, if you're going onto Amazon and you saw 1,000 5-star reviews, what would your thought be of that product?
Well, initially, it's probably a good product. However, bear in mind that with Amazon, you get a lot of paid reviews and reviews which are just people who mindlessly put 5 stars. I found with Amazon, the only people who really will leave a review tend to be people who've had a great experience and everything's perfect, or the people who've hated it and have something to complain about. So I kind of then look at the more recent reviews to get a better idea of how they're doing recently.
And if there are some 1-2-star reviews, you'd review those, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd want to know. So if they were all 5-star, you might go, well, that's an amazing product, but you'd be going, that sounds a bit fishy, because as you said, there's 2 types of people that leave reviews: those people that have had a bad experience and those people had a great experience. So there's got to be somebody that's had a bad experience somehow, and you generally read those and you assess, okay, is that likely to repeat itself? But more importantly, how did the company deal with that bad review? Because a lot now are saying, actually, if you give me a bad review, I can respond to it. And actually, my response quashes that bad review. Okay, so people sort of sometimes are scared of doing reviews. What if I get a bad review? Brilliant, get a bad review, but comment on it as to why, what you've done about it, because people will take that into account, and I think we'll see that as a positive rather than a negative. So obviously, if you're getting lots of bad reviews, then you've got a problem with your systems and processes and people, and you need to sort that one out first. Okay,
So I was just going to say, a quick one is when you mentioned the good reviews, bad reviews situation. So we've got a client of ours who's just announced on LinkedIn today that they've hit 1,000 good reviews on TripAdvisor. No negative reviews whatsoever. They've hit 1,000, 100% positive 5-star reviews. And interestingly, there were people commenting on it to say, well, where's the negative?
Where's there must be somebody that something was missing. So I mean, would I make up negative bad reviews? Probably not. I think TripAdvisor is probably one of those where you could get away with it, because if you are offering a stay somewhere, you'd hope that you were consistently great. But it doesn't hurt to have a bad review. That's the key to this. So don't be scared to talk about it and put it out there and get those reviews in. And again, you talked about that competition. Who are the best? Who are the top 5 competitors? We rate these people. People like to know that people are aware of things, and they can, because what you're trying to build up here is trust. So if you're open and honest with people, and pick up your flaw, your good bits, your bad bits, competitors' good bits, bad bits, they're more likely to trust you. If you're not talking about it, or you're talking negatively or bigging yourself up too much, then that trust level disappears, and your effectiveness of your marketing drops through the floor. Okay, but the book has got a load more examples in it. Those are just sort of the top 5 that I sort of picked out from, you know, when I went through it. So, and that should be built into your website, but also into your media campaigns. You know, what the messages you're putting out there. The next thing we've got to think about is the difference between, we call old marketing and new marketing. So in the old days, a lot of marketing is based around, we had a captive audience. You know, there was low choice. People didn't know much. They had a lot more time than we seem to have now, and there wasn't much noise in the marketplace. So, and I'm talking back to pre-internet days, okay, where if you wanted to advertise something, you had to be in the paper. Yeah, you had to be on TV or radio. Those were your big ones, and the competition there was quite low. Nowadays, with social media, we've got a much more transient audience. They're flitting from one thing to another thing. They've got a massive amount of choice. You know, they could go anywhere. They've almost got too much information, you know, that because of Google, they could find anything else they want to do. And, you know, they have less time, and there's a lot of noise in the marketplace. So therefore, we have to stand out. Okay, if we don't stand out and we don't stand for something different to everybody else, we will just be ignored. Okay, it's such an important part of what we're actually, you know, what we're doing here. So the way we stand out is we've got to be clear what our unique selling proposition is, and or have a clear guarantee. Okay, if we can't be unique in what we do, then guarantee something that no one else is willing to guarantee. So an example of this was, I can't remember, probably about 10 years ago, and Korean cars, so Kia. I don't know if you remember sort of Kia back 10, 15 years ago, was a pretty second-rate brand, wasn't it? Yeah. So what they did was say, look, our cars don't really stand out much from the competition. Therefore, what we can do is we can put a 7-year guarantee on it, because the big fear for people, as they buy a Korean car, is going to break down and be valueless in 5 years' time. So they took that away and said, we will give a 7-year guarantee, and that elevated their brand to a point that no other manufacturer gave a 7-year guarantee, so they could be unique in their marketplace. I don't know if you remember, but Vauxhall's followed suit. They gave a lifetime guarantee for their cars, yeah, which was a complete disaster because, you know, their cars didn't last a lifetime. And then when people, you know, because it was the life, if you bought the car and never sold it, it would have the warranty, but as soon as you sold it, the warranty would be void. So people started saying, well, hang on a minute, you know, you've said, you promised something and delivered something completely different. So the trust levels went through the floor. So they basically shot themselves in the foot. Okay, so we've got to be thinking about that. You know, what makes us stand out? Now, for some of you, you know, I mean, Ben in particular, the product you sell, you can buy anywhere. You know, there's certain bits of that it's very difficult to have a USP. Sometimes it's difficult to have a guarantee. So therefore, what you're thinking about is your story, your brand story is what sets you apart. No one else can have the history that you've had. Yeah, no one else can have the team that you've got. No one else can really do it the way that you do it. So you've got to start thinking about, okay, what is it the way we do things that sets us apart from everybody else? And that's the story we want, that message we want to get out. Now, we're not expecting everyone to like us or everyone want to buy us, because you can't have a story that appeals to everybody. But if you're focused on that target audience, you can have a story that fits with them. Okay, and a book by Donald Miller is very good at sort of helping you identify, you know, why a brand story is good. We're just doing a book club at the moment, which takes that a little bit as well, which is called the cookie principle, or the fortune cookie principle, which says people don't buy a fortune cookie for the cookie. Yeah, they buy it for the fortune that's inside. The cookie is what you sell, the product, the service. The message inside is the way you deliver it. And that's the bit that you can be unique about. That's the bit you can shout about. So we need this sort of, USP, this sort of guarantee, because everybody out there has a resistance to actually wanting to buy from us. Okay, so this is a little thing we call the formula for change. So R is their resistance, okay, or their risk to changing. So Nick, how often do people change their accountants?
In the past, not very often. Nowadays, much more regularly.
Okay, okay. When you say much more regularly, how long would it you finding people are changing?
I've known we've had a client that in the last 5 years has had 5 accountants.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a good thing, but
No, I've got to say, to be honest, it's as much them as anyone else, but it is still that issue, if that makes sense, of people are much more conscious now. So again, we had another client who in the past we had always been able to offer what's called tax fee protection to clients, and because of the number of clients we had in the past, we were able to get a deal and basically pay absorb it ourselves. So it was a selling point. We could do it for free. We've done it now where we charge, it's gone up massively. If you want more clients, we've had to charge £1 a month for this cover. Probably 25% of our clients that we've done this charge for have moaned.
Right.
Despite and gone, we're going to look elsewhere, we're going to do this. And it's like, it's £1 a month.
Yeah.
To keep you covered in case of investigation. And it's just there's been so much resistance to it.
Right.
Which we didn't, and that we know it's difficult times we see it with our clients, but we also
I think we'll use that as a slightly different case than I was expecting, but we'll use it anyway. But if you think about that, people have a resistance to change their accountants. It's going to be a pain in the ass. I don't know the new one. For this case, they've got a resistance to pay you extra money for a service. The key to this is this part of the formula over here. The first steps is almost like the logical reason. So what you've given me there is the logical reason why the extra pound is worthwhile. Okay, and that's where most of us sort of, certainly technical minded people go, is we focus on the first steps, the logical reason as to why you should do something. What we need to understand, again, this comes back to understanding the target and who our client is and what they're thinking, is the D and the V stands for dissatisfaction and vision. Okay, because if somebody's not dissatisfied with where they are, they're not going to change or not going to want to change. If they have no vision of the future, they're not going to want to change. So if I take the pound increase, were they dissatisfied before you charge them an extra pound?
Not that we're aware of, no.
No. Do they have a clear vision of all the benefits they're going to get for paying an extra pound?
No, because again, the problem is with that, we've always done it for free in the past, but
So if I was being asked to pay for something I've always had for free, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah.
Okay. So knowing that means that the message that we put across has to change. Okay. The vision, either the dissatisfaction is, look, you know, I'm sorry, but you know, we're going to have to stop your insurance now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the premiums have gone through the roof and we can't afford it. But if you would like to, you know, for £1 £1 more a week, yeah, I can give you all this cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same for you know, people. The reason that people don't leave their accountant is because overall they're not dissatisfied with the service. It might not be great service, but they don't know any different because they're not buying it from multiple people. You know, if you only ever ate in one restaurant and you didn't know any other restaurants existed, you'd probably put up with whatever food they served you.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you went to a better restaurant and thought, blimey, hell, the one I'm going to is rubbish, then you'd change.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can use that two ways. One is to retain customers, because we know that they're thinking these things and we want to make sure we're protected. So we're constantly adding value and making sure their vision of life with us in the future is going to be great and they're not dissatisfied. But also we can use it to actually attract people towards us. Okay. And that's really what the unique selling proposition and our story does, is it's this dissatisfaction and vision that it buys into. You know, the first steps are easy. You know, come and use us, try us, give us a go. Okay, but we've got to understand really what's going on inside our client's head in order for us to make sure that the message we put out there is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And what a USP isn't is, you know, a USP can't be vague, unspecific, you know, and I think I've got some, you know, things like we really care, you know, we're the best, you know, these are not USPs. Okay, because I could put any one of those on any business. Okay, it doesn't depict who you are. Okay, but you can have them around. I've got sort of some categories here. You can have a USP around lower price, which what business out there does a very good USP on lower price? McDonald's? Yeah, I suppose they do. I mean, what specifically do McDonald's do?
Well, they have their 99p cheeseburger.
99p cheeseburger, yeah. Okay, so that's their almost sort of pull in that, look, this is as cheap as you can get food, basically. But what they want you to do is then buy fries and Cokes and, yeah, and upgrade it to a Big Mac. Okay, but they don't, I mean, they do use it, but I wouldn't say McDonald's are, you know, that is their USP. You know, they've got other USPs, but I wouldn't say price is their, or the lowest price is their USP.
Aldi.
Yeah, as they did it first, you know. John Lewis pretended to do it, you know, never knowingly undersold, but they've now removed that. I don't know if you've noticed, because, you know, they've realized actually that's not our USP anymore. You know, people don't go to John Lewis to buy the cheapest whatever. You know, they go for the service. So, you know, they chose service. You know, they're going to be the best at serving people. Could be convenience, you know, make it the easiest, the widest choice. You know, we talked about the guarantee. You could be the most innovative, you know, using technology. You know, all of these, you know, various ones you could build your USP around. Okay, but you've got to be clear what that USP is and then how to deliver it. I said, if you can't come up with something specific that, you know, look, we really are just selling what everyone else sells, then you focus on the guarantee. Okay, what is the guarantee that we offer that gets people to come to buy from us? So far we've looked at the target, be very, very specific who we're going to go after, what do they think? Yeah, understand their buying motives, what their formula for change would be. The why they should choose you then is about your story, your offer. Yeah, how are you different to everybody else? What could be that piece of cheese that would actually entice them in? So I use videos a lot. So I have little videos that explain the videos, because there's a number of problems that, you know, growing businesses have, that if I can show an affinity with it, that they go, yeah, okay, that's me. Yeah, okay, how can you help me? So marketing often is an education process. You know, it's educating people as to why they've, because a lot of people don't know they've got a problem. You know, it was quite on, Monday morning, I woke up with chronic toothache. You know, by Tuesday afternoon, it was excruciating. Yeah. So I phoned the dentist up and booked an appointment to see the dentist. The dentist didn't need to market to me, yeah, because I had a need. But if I was into cosmetic surgery, yeah, then my process of actually deciding what dentist to use would be a lot different. Okay, so the messaging, you know, the convenience one is, can you fit me in? You know, I'm in pain. I've got a massive dissatisfaction. My resistance is quite low because I just want this pain to go away. Yeah. If it's more of a want desire, it's going to be a longer process of education as to why, the trust building, etc. So once we've got a clarity what our target is, our offer is, now we can start deciding what strategy we use. And there are hundreds of strategies we can use. I mean, I think the latest count within, you know, within our process, we've got around about, I think about 120 different marketing strategies you can use. I'm still waiting for a client to use the hot air blimp marketing strategy. So if anyone knows anyone that would benefit from a hot air blimp, then I've got my first billboards. I've got 2 clients that are running billboards at the moment. So and one of them already got 2 clients on the back of it, so I know it works. But yeah, we could put an advert in the paper. Yeah, our website can be a marketing tool, emails, referrals, Instagram, LinkedIn, you know, picking the phone up, knocking on doors, sending stuff through the post. Yeah, there are hundreds of strategies we could use. And that's why you've got to do target offer first, because that then dictates which one of these you use. Because if my target isn't on Facebook, don't do Facebook. You know, I remember a few years ago when, you know, obviously, you know, Twitter started. Everyone's go, oh, you got to be on Twitter, you got to be on Twitter. And I just looked at it and said, why? I don't get it. You know, my clients are too busy the majority of the time to be on Twitter. Yeah. So why would I market on Twitter to people that aren't ever going to buy my product or service? Yeah, I tested and measured Facebook. They are on it, but you know, when people are on Facebook, they're in relaxy, holiday, you know, friendly mode. Yeah. So for me, LinkedIn was the main strategy that I used to actually get hold of people, because it's a business to business medium. And that's where my client base predominantly is. But you've got to think where your client base is. And each one of these, as I say, is that little plate that you need to get spinning. And once it's spinning, you can then start another one. If you tried to start all of those strategies in one go, you'd end up with a lot of crash plates around your feet. Every single one of them, you need to test it and measure it. And I think I'll come on to that in a second. Okay. So it doesn't matter from my point which one of those you use. But if you use it, you've got to understand it, or you've got to pay somebody who understands it. Because if you're going to do networking, if you're going to do direct mail, you've got to understand how direct mail works, how to write a direct mail marketing piece. If you're going to do Facebook, you've got to understand how the Facebook algorithm works. Because if you don't, you're just going to spend money on this stuff. It's not going to work. And you're going to turn around and go, oh, that was a waste of time. I'm never going to do that again. So doesn't matter which one of these strategies we use. When it comes to writing good copy, once we know our target, there's only 4 things we need to think about. Just like we said at the start, target, offer, copy. Once we're doing the copy, this principle comes out. And this is called the AIDA principle. Okay. AIDA stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. So no matter what you do, direct mail, networking, telephone, social media, doesn't matter what medium you use, the AIDA principle must stack up. Okay, I've got to grab the person's attention, and more so now, because in the old days they said you had 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention. As they read the newspaper, as they watched the TV, you had about 3 seconds to grab their attention. In today's social media world, you've got about 0.3 of a second. Okay, they are inundated with so many things going on that if you don't catch their attention in 0.3 of a second, you're history. Once you've got their attention, you need to then pull them in with some interest and desire. So again, kick in those emotional buttons, either the dissatisfaction, you're moving away from pain, or moving towards pleasure. And then you've got to have a clear call to action. What's the next step? Because there's no point in getting somebody down that line and leaving them hanging. You've got to say, phone this, click this, email this, fill this in, send this. Do something as a result of that marketing. Don't forget, we're not in this for brand. Yeah, we're in this for actually getting people to respond and generating leads. So I use this little advert as my example, because this advert was done, I think it's got to be 20 years ago now. I think it was in the Daily Mail. I think that was the paper. And adverts in the Daily Mail cost around about £10,000. Okay, so imagine you know how much stuff you'd need to sell for a 1-page advert in the Daily Mail. Okay, you'd have to sell a lot of stuff. So this was done, and this was an award-winning advert. It won an award because it got results. It sold beds. Okay, proven. They had the numbers, they had the statistics. And I actually know the guy who was part of the team that built this advert. So, I actually found the advert before I knew him, and then I showed it to him one day. And he goes, "Oh, that's my advert." And so I learned how what it took them to build this. And so the first question I want to ask you is, so this advert was in the Daily Mail, it cost £10,000 to run this advert. How long do you think it took this advert to be developed? From the day they started it to the day it was actually really published and they chucked loads of money at it? Anyone want to unmute themselves and have a guess, or type it in the chat box?
3 months.
3 months, James? Any
Can you
advance
go
on
for a
3
year?
months? A year?
Maybe
Okay,
a year.
That's pretty good. It was about 9 months. Okay, now this was 9 months pre-internet. Okay, so nowadays we can do this a lot quicker because internet, we can get instant response. There they had to place the advert, see what happened, change it, place the advert, see what happened, changed it. It took about 9 months to build this advert. Okay, so what you see now is the result of a team. I think it was about 3 people's work over the course of 9 months, not full time. They were obviously doing things in between. So if you want the results that you're going to get from your marketing, you've got to be thinking with this mindset. You can't just throw a piece of copy together and hope it's going to work. You have to have the thought, as much thought that goes into this into your marketing. So we're going to take this through and say, right, and this, the reason I use this because it follows the AIDA principle perfectly. So attention grabbing, yeah, what on here grabs the attention?
The header.
The header. Okay, so if I'm flicking through the paper, the headline is always the attention grabber. Maybe the picture as well. Maybe it's the picture and the headline together. Yeah, so the headline grabs my attention. The interest then, I'm then pulled in through a testimonial, you know, something in quotes, what somebody else says about my product is the truth, what I say about it is a lie. So if you put it in quotes, somebody else is talking about your product. Whether it is or not doesn't matter, but psychologically we're programmed to believe this. We've got some good copy, but not too much. Okay, we are not trying to sell the product here. This is the big thing. This is not trying to sell beds. I'll come on to that in a second. This is just to get them to the next stage. There's a picture. Now, this is memory foam. So back in the day, people didn't know what memory foam was. So there's an example of what the memory foam is. And then the desire is we're giving away some free stuff. As I said, this is not about selling beds. They weren't, if they sold a bed from this advert, it was a bonus. What they wanted to do was give away information to people who were interested in beds. This is their piece of cheese. Because back then, pre-internet, you couldn't go and Google, you know, tempura beds or memory foam beds. Yeah, you couldn't do that. So they had to send the information to them. There was accreditation. Now, some of these things, you know, it's got limited 15-year guarantee, you know, sleep good, feel good, the Institute of Space. It doesn't matter what the accreditation is. Just by putting a badge on there gives people the trust that it's a good site. Now, dodgy people use this, you know, and make up things or nick logos and put them on their site. I'm not saying you do that. But if you can get accreditation and you can put it on there, like, you know, the Institute or whatever it is, it gives people confidence that this is a legit site or a legit page or a legit advert.
Would that, sorry, Kevin, would that also relate to, I mean, we have a lot of our big customers, their logos on the website, so it gives an idea of who we deal with.
Yep. So anything that would be recognized to the target audience that you're selling to. You know, if you put something on there that the target one's got no idea what it is, you know, it might have some benefit, but not much benefit. Okay, you could put there the Chamber of Commerce if you're part of the Chamber of Commerce, you know, the networking group that you're a member of, you know, check a trade, you know, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's legit and it looks like it's giving you third-party endorsement of your marketing. So you're not saying it is third-party endorsement, but it will appear to somebody when they're reading it and provide that trust. We also have, you know, the offer then. So the desire is part of the offer. So here we've got a 60-night trial. This is another piece of cheese. Now, we're not necessarily selling the bed. We're actually selling the brochures. But this is saying, look, if you are interested, you can have this bed for 60 nights. If you don't like it, we'll give you money back. So that's my guarantee, basically. I guarantee you'll love this bed, otherwise I'll give you money back. And this is what we call a puppy dog close. So imagine the family going to the pet store on a Friday. Yeah, mum and dad don't really want a pet. Kids want one. And the pet owner knows this and says, look, why don't you take the little puppy home with you for the weekend? If you don't like it, bring it back on Monday. Okay. If a family's had a pet dog or a pet cat for a weekend, are they going to bring it back on Monday? No. Okay. If you've had this bed in your house for 60 nights, yeah, are you going to give it back in 60 nights? No. I mean, the reality is very, very unlikely. Okay, because 60 nights, by that time you've got used to it. But what's also happened after 60 days of owning this bed? What have you done with the original bed? Okay, so they just, that's because it was an initial 7-day, try it for 7 days, give it back. But they found that people were giving the bed back. Yeah, well, I'll keep my old mattress for 7 days, but for 60 days, no, I'll get rid of the old mattress and I'll keep it. And they could always say, well, look, give it a bit longer, yeah, because you'll get used to it, because it is new, and therefore by that time it's, oh, blimey, we're used to it, and we'll keep the bed. Then there's a call to action. Okay, so the call to action is give them as many options to contact you as possible. So again, in these days, there's a free phone number. Again, back then you had to pay for phone calls. You don't have to do that now. And there's a coupon. Yeah, people used to love coupons, filling in forms. Okay, so the big thing for this though is, what is the name of this company? And where is the company's logo? It's the least important part of this advert. Okay, the least important part of the advert is the actual name of the company. People don't care about you. What they care about is them. They care about, have I got a bad back? Yeah. Is my agony going to be over? Yeah. Can I get some free stuff to see whether this is right for me? Is there a guarantee? Oh yeah, all of that stuff. Yeah. Oh, who sells it? Oh, it's Tempur. And Tempur became the best-selling bed company from pretty much nothing because of this advert. The other very clever thing for this, yeah, and again, this was something they tried and tested, and I think they sort of fell upon, was when you're reading an advert, when you're reading a book, yeah, you read from left to right, from top to bottom, left to right. So you come in here and you leave here. Now, this picture here, which way is it facing? Where is it pointing? Down to the call to action. So if I'm a speed reader, if I'm just glancing, I look at this, okay, I get what it is, it's a bed. Oh, I can order some free stuff, yeah. And when I leave the page, the last thing on my mind is the name of the company. Absolute genius. Okay, most people have Tempur beds. We sell beds. Do you want to buy a bed? You know, and then wonder why it doesn't work. The other key thing to this is the demographic. Okay, so who's this targeting? So what demographic is this advert targeting?
I'd say older people who might be suffering back problems.
Older people that might be suffering, more specific than just older people.
Yeah.
So I want you to be more specific.
Older women.
Older women. Yeah. So, okay, be more specific. What age bracket?
Probably 40 to 60.
40 to 60. Yeah. Why have they chosen 40 to 60-year-old females? Who are more likely to have bad backs?
Mothers.
Pardon?
Mothers.
Older people. Okay, so that's the age range, you know, is why they would have that. Who has more disposable income?
People of that age.
If you're 20 and you're buying your first house, yeah, is spending $5,000 on a bed, you know, generally at the top of your list?
No.
No. Okay, so they're targeting, you know, couples where predominantly the kids have probably left home, and now they're saying, well, actually, we're going to do something for ourselves. Yeah, how old do you think this lady is here?
Yeah, probably in the middle of that demographic, 40 to 60. Yeah, about 50.
You think?
I've got a small screen here,
Oh,
so
you
I
got
can't
small
quite
screen.
see.
She's probably late 30s, early 40s. Okay. So they've chosen somebody who's around about 10 years younger than the people they're trying to sell to. Why is that?
What people aspire to and what they feel like they look like.
Yeah, because when you're 40, how do you really feel? Like a 30-year-old. When you're 50, you feel like a 40-year-old. When you're 60, it's about a 10-year difference that you actually feel that you are like. So when I look at this, I go, oh, that's the person I think I am. I'm not, but that's the person I think I am. Okay, so the key to this is the targeting was very, very specific. You know, the way they put the advert together was extremely clever in the way that it read, what was in there. Everything in there is there for a purpose. It's not just randomly put together. And what I find with the majority of people that write adverts is just thrown on a page, no real thought about it. Oh, we've got to get it out. There's a deadline. I need to get that post out. It's done. Right. Has it worked? No idea. And that's why the majority of marketing fails, because there's no strategy, there's no thought goes into it. It's rushed, and and therefore, because it doesn't work, it's not repeated, and we don't learn from it. Okay, if you're going to do marketing, you've got to do it with that intent that this is going to work, and you're going to put the effort in and learn the skills it's going to take to actually build a marketing campaign that does work. That's a sort of an advert. You could put that into a Facebook ad. Obviously, you'd lose a lot of content in it, but the principles would apply. Here's an email, a guy who's very good at email marketing. Again, headline, picture, very simple because people don't have any attention span, call to actions all over the place. Okay, same principles applied for email. So it doesn't matter what the medium is we use, the AIDA principle must apply. And once we've got the copy together and we're putting it out, the key then is what gets measured gets done, and what gets measured gets improved. Yeah, every single piece of marketing needs to be measured. And those measurements need to be tied back to the company budget where we started. We set a goal, we broke it down, we said this is what we're going to spend, this is how many leads we wanted to generate. We've now got to start seeing, is the marketing that we're doing actually achieving the results that we set out? So we need to have leading key performance indicators. Now, a leading KPI is an activity KPI. Okay. So if I'm sending out emails, how many emails did I send out? Because that's the only thing I really have control over. If I'm networking, how many networking events did I go to? If I'm telemarketing, how many dials did I actually dial? Okay, the activity drives the results, and that's the only thing we can control. Therefore, we have to measure that activity. The lagging KPI is the result that I get. I do this, I get this. The ultimate lagging KPI is profit, but there's multiple KPIs before that. So if I send out 1,000 emails, how many emails arrive? Yeah, that's my first conversion rate. How many emails arrived, got opened? That's my second. How many emails arrived and were opened that were clicked through? That's my third. Yeah, how many inquiries I had a result of that is way down the line. Okay, so we're always looking at my leading, my lagging, my leading, my lagging right the way through the process. Now, some of that sometimes is difficult to actually record, but you've got to go in with the intention to do that. Okay, if you don't go in with the intention, then you'll miss out some of the simple stuff. And a lot of online stuff now has all of this built into it. Google has it built into it. Emails has it built into it. But are you actually utilizing the data to actually make better decisions and try new things. Okay, because it's a constant, never-ending process of improvement. And a simple way you can see this, here's my 10 strategies, my 10 plates. L&C is a lead or a conversion rate strategy. That's how much I've allocated to invest in it. So that's my marketing budget each month. Yeah, and then these are my target leads that I want from it. Okay, and so this is what I want the result. So out of £1,600, I want £5,000 of return. And then I keep a track of my activity, yeah, which is how many calls do I make, yeah, how many leads do I get from it. Okay, so it becomes a game that we play, you know, the game of lead generation. And we're constantly trying new things to see if I can be better at playing that game. And if you measure it, it's a far more fun game than if you just chuck money at it and sit there and hope that you're going to get leads coming in. So if you want to know more about what I've covered today, one of the best books on this is, and where I gleaned a lot of this or utilize it, is this book by Peter Knight called The Highly Effective Marketing Plan. And in it, you know, what he does is exactly what I've talked through today. He says, you've got to be clear what your goals and targets are. Okay, the more clear you are with that, the more you're likely to do the right things to achieve it. Understanding your target audience is paramount. Okay, and understanding you've got multiple targets as well for most of you. So your messages, your activity needs to be different for each one of those. What's the story? You know, what story are you trying to tell? What's your unique selling proposition to get people to come and buy from you? How are you going to communicate that out? What medium are you going to use to get that message out? And how do we measure the results? Okay, that in of all the complications of, you go to marketing companies who will promise you this, promise you that. If you just sit down with them and say, right, that's what I want out of it, that's who I'm going for, there's my story, you decide how you're going to communicate that out, but those are the measurements. So all of these four, you're responsible for. If you go to a marketing company, you're really looking for them to do that one. And you assess whether they're doing a good job because you've got the measurements in place. And if you can't achieve that, then I shouldn't be using you as a marketing company. Cool. So any final questions? I know I've whizzed through that. There's a lot to take in. That's why I say, there will be a recording of this. So if you want to go back and watch it again, you know, those books that I talked about, they ask you answer, the hemp book, Story Brand, the Fortune Cookie Principle. These are all good books to reinforce the knowledge you're going to need to build successful marketing campaigns. So, but any key questions, James? Any questions, and what would be the one key action you'll take away from today?
Not really so much questions, because I think firstly for me, I need to figure out the target is going to be the main thing. Yeah. Because, you know, with our industry, there are literally such a vast number where we do pensions, investments, life cover, mortgages, you know, that could apply on such a large scale. So it's going to take a bit of time for me to figure out who's going to be the best target audience to go to first, and then build a plan from there, I think. And
I'd say start small. Start with a small goal, a small target audience, and then do something. Because often there's so many things you could do that you end up with like a rabbit in the headlights and you do nothing. So just choose one, doesn't matter which one it is, the one you think has got the best chance of success or the one you enjoy the most, and then do something on that. Because what will happen is it will then snowball. Yeah, you can then start the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, and build on it rather than trying to think, I've got to solve my entire marketing problem in one go. So, okay. Ben, what do you think certain plastics should be doing?
I think understanding the audience better. We communicate quite well with our customers, so understand why they came to us and use that probably a bit more to find other people. Because if that's the reason people have come to us, understand it and not look at it from our perspective. I think that's quite interesting, looking at it very much from the customer's perspective rather than our own.
Yeah, cool. I'd say, you know, that 50% about target marketing, use that time wisely, because that will save you so much time and money later on. So cool. Dylan?
I think a big issue we have is, well, we've not had a dedicated marketing person until I started. There's a lot of these things that are kind of fallen to the wayside.
Yeah.
And I think one of the biggest things that we really need to do is set defined and measurable goals.
Yeah.
So we can actually track back that the marketing's actually having an impact. Where right now there seems to be a bit of a disconnect between the content and the actual marketing, and is it actually doing its job?
And often we do things because we've always done them.
Yeah.
But if there's no measurement, you could be just wasting time and money. You could find that actually you've got something really good and you just need to do more of it.
Yeah.
So great. Yeah, link it back, and that you'll need to go back to Charlie on that and talk about the goals and the budgets, and then say, right, okay, if that's what we want to achieve, then this is what we're going to need to do.
Yeah.
So fabulous. Cool. Nick?
Yeah, I think for me, it's literally going back to basics. I think for us, I think I did a little diagram myself, right, almost right at the beginning of the B, the do, and the final section.
Yeah, they have. Yeah,
and the other director, who's the main marketing, is very much sat in the do,
right,
all the time, but does everything. So every possible event, every possible networking, marketing, he does.
Yeah.
No time for anything else.
Yeah. If you chuck enough shit at the wall, some of it will stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is that what we need? Are we doing not necessarily too much, but when, again, like I said right at the beginning, marketing to the right people, I don't think we are.
The first thing is a little bit like Dylan said. The first thing I think you need to do there is measure. You say, right, okay, we're doing all this stuff. You're spending 10 hours a month networking. So in the last month, what did we get out of it?
Yeah.
We did all these emails. What did we get out of it? Because when you do that and you realize how much time, because time is free, but it's not free because there's an opportunity cost. So price in your time and go, we spent £5,000 on that strategy. How much did that generate? It'll scare you senseless, I guarantee. But you have to do that, and then you can start working out, right, okay, so there'll be something in there that is working, so let's carry on doing that. But there'll be things I could save all that time and money, and I could put it into something else.
Correct. Yeah.
Excellent. Brilliant. Well, look, it's been a pleasure, guys. So, home fun, if you want to take it on, is set your goals, look at those beliefs yourself, but actually for the company as a whole. I always think it's a company driven thing. And then think about that hemp marketing plan, sort of those target offer copy, basically. And if you want to sort of share it with me, I know most of these guys are working with me in some shape or form, but for Nick, for you guys, as you're fairly new, more than happy to do something sort of on from this to help you create that plan and get some clarity around what you need to do. So but otherwise, have a super evening, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one. Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks.